I still remember the day my dear friend Eleanor, who was 79 at the time, gave us all a fright. It was a sweltering afternoon in mid-July, and she fainted right in the middle of her granddaughter's birthday celebration. After we rushed her to the emergency room, the doctors told her she was severely dehydrated. It shocked everyone, especially because Eleanor had always considered herself perfectly healthy. Someone who paid attention to her diet, got regular checkups, and prided herself on being independent. Yet she'd overlooked the one habit that could have prevented the entire ordeal: proper hydration. That day I realized just how easy it is for seniors to slip into dangerous dehydration without even noticing. Dehydration isn't just about feeling a bit thirsty or lightheaded. For many older adults, it can escalate into a chain of serious health complications: weakness, confusion, urinary tract infections, kidney problems, and even increased risk of falls. It's like a slow-moving threat that creeps up on you, especially once you're past 75. The older we get, the less our body signals thirst effectively, and that's a recipe for danger. If you're not actively aware of how much fluid you're taking in, it's startlingly simple to become dehydrated, sometimes with devastating consequences. I've witnessed neighbors, friends, and even family members land in the hospital for a simple problem that's entirely preventable. Too often, seniors believe that they're drinking enough just because they don't feel thirsty, or they think a few cups of coffee or tea will do the trick. But ignoring this crucial aspect of health can lead to sudden setbacks, like feeling dizzy when you stand up, experiencing heart palpitations, or suffering from severe constipation. Worse still, chronic mild dehydration can chip away at your well-being without any obvious symptoms at first. It's as if you're losing precious vitality bit by bit, all because you're missing an essential element as simple as water. In the next few moments, we're going to explore 7 of the most common hydration mistakes that older adults make, mistakes that can lead to serious health risks if left unchecked. I urge you to stay with me until the very end, because the 7th mistake is one hardly anyone discusses, yet it can completely upend your efforts to stay healthy. By the time we're finished, you'll have a clear roadmap for avoiding these pitfalls and a vision of what it feels like to move through your day with steadier energy, clearer thinking, and fewer of those nagging aches and pains that sometimes arise out of nowhere. I'm sharing this because time and again, doctors and specialists see seniors coming in with dehydration-related issues that could have been prevented with just a few small changes. As someone who's dedicated to helping older adults remain vibrant, I've spent years learning from both medical experts and real-life experiences of people in their 70s, 80s, and beyond. I've seen how quickly someone's quality of life can change by simply learning to pay attention to what's in their glass and what their body is telling them. If you haven't already, I recommend you subscribe here and turn on notifications so you don't miss helpful insights like these. And if you find any part of this discussion eye-opening, just type a quick 1 in the comments. If there's something you disagree with or don't find useful, type 0. Your feedback helps me focus on topics that truly matter to you. So let's delve into the 7 biggest hydration mistakes seniors often make after 75. I promise you, by understanding and correcting these habits, you'll not only reduce your risk of scary health crises, but also open the door to a more comfortable, energetic life, no matter what your birth certificate says. Now let's begin with the first mistake. Mistake number 1, believing thirst is the only indicator of hydration. You might hear people say, drink when you're thirsty. That advice sounds simple and logical, right? But for seniors, it can be dangerously misleading. By the time you actually feel thirst, your body might already be running on a deficit. This is especially true after 75, when our sense of thirst naturally diminishes. You could be dehydrated for hours, maybe even days, before you feel a single twinge of dryness in your mouth. Contrary to popular belief, thirst is not the best indicator of your body's needs at this stage of life. Here's the misconception. Many folks think, if I'm not thirsty, then I must be fine. Unfortunately, your body can be screaming for water on the inside while staying completely silent on the outside. Think of it like a faulty fuel gauge in a car. Even if the gauge shows half a tank, you might be running on fumes without realizing it. Take Dolores, age 80, for example. For years, Dolores prided herself on being low maintenance. She rarely drank more than 2 or 3 cups of water a day because she said she just didn't feel thirsty. Then one morning she felt dizzy and nearly fell while getting out of bed. At the hospital, she learned she was severely dehydrated. It was a wake-up call. Dolores had always assumed no thirst meant no problem. Now she's careful to schedule her water intake, sipping a small glass every couple of hours whether she feels like it or not. The surprising truth here is that our internal thirst mechanism becomes less sensitive over time. This quiet shift often leaves seniors chronically underhydrated. And it's not just about avoiding passing out or experiencing dizziness. Insufficient hydration can also lead to faster cognitive decline, making you feel foggy and forgetful. In other words, you may not connect that mental sluggishness to a lack of water, but the two could be directly related. So what's the actionable step? Start a simple schedule. Treat your water breaks like you treat your meal times. Set them at regular intervals throughout the day. You might drink a small glass of water first thing in the morning, another around mid-morning, one with lunch, one mid-afternoon, one with dinner, and one before bed. It doesn't have to be huge amounts. Just make sure it's consistent. Put a sticky note on your fridge or set a reminder on your phone or clock. Some seniors find it helpful to use a measured water bottle, making it easier to track how much they've consumed. Imagine how reassuring it feels to wake up alert and ready to tackle the day, instead of wobbling out of bed, wondering if you'll lose your balance. By retraining your thirst mechanism, essentially bypassing it with a schedule, you're giving your body the support it deserves. It's a small habit change, but it can spare you a whole lot of worry, especially when you're trying to maintain your independence. Think of how much easier it is to stand up from your favorite chair without that sudden head rush, or to go shopping with a friend and enjoy the outing rather than worry about feeling weak or nauseous. Now let's move on to the second mistake that might be lurking in your routine. But before we do, let me know in the comments if you're still with me. Type 2 below if you're finding these insights useful so far, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Your support truly helps. Mistake number 2, over-reliance on coffee and tea for hydration. Coffee and tea can be comforting, warm in the winter, refreshing as iced drinks in the summer. Many seniors love their morning cup of coffee or an afternoon tea break. The problem arises when you start counting these beverages as your main source of hydration. While some experts debate how dehydrating caffeine actually is, the fact remains that coffee and many teas act as mild diuretics, prompting your body to lose fluids rather than retain them. The common misconception is, well, coffee and tea are liquids, so I'm hydrating myself. In reality, these beverages don't hydrate you nearly as effectively as plain water. Add sugar or sweeteners, and you're compounding the problem with extra calories and potential blood sugar fluctuations, especially if you're dealing with conditions like diabetes or prediabetes. Let's talk about Marcus, 78, a retired mechanic who used to drink coffee from sunrise until noon every single day. He rarely drank plain water. At one point, Marcus started experiencing muscle cramps and thought it was just old age. He also had trouble sleeping at night, often waking up jittery. A nutritionist pointed out that his all-day coffee habit was leaving him chronically dehydrated and overstimulated by caffeine. Switching 2 of his coffee cups to water every morning not only reduced his cramps, but also improved his overall energy levels throughout the day. Here's the unexpected truth. Although coffee and tea do provide some fluid, they can't fully replace water in your daily routine, particularly if they're caffeinated. You don't have to give up your favorite morning brew entirely, but for every cup of coffee or tea, it's wise to add a glass of water. Doing so helps offset the potential diuretic effect and ensures you're genuinely replenishing your fluids. A practical step is to adopt a 1-for-1 rule. For every cup of coffee or tea, have at least 1 cup of water. Another option is to explore caffeine-free or low-caffeine teas, herbal teas, or even decaffeinated coffee, especially in the afternoon or evening. This way you can still enjoy a warm beverage without compromising your hydration. Consider how empowering it feels to have more stable energy levels throughout the day. Instead of riding the caffeine roller coaster, alert in the morning, crashing midday, you can feel a more even sense of vitality. Think of how reassuring it would be to fall asleep more easily at night without that restless feeling in your legs or that racing mind that sometimes keeps you awake. Now that we've covered reliance on coffee and tea, we'll head to our next critical hydration mistake. If you're still here and appreciate these tips, please comment with the number 4 below to let me know. Why 4 and not 3? Because I want to make sure you're paying attention. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to join our community so we can continue exploring topics that help you live a fuller, healthier life. Mistake number 3, waiting until you feel thirsty to drink water. It might sound redundant after discussing the thirst mechanism in our first point, but it's crucial to highlight this as a standalone mistake. Believing you only need water when your mouth feels dry is a misunderstanding that can lead to chronic dehydration. This is different from the notion that thirst is a poor indicator. Here, we're pointing out the habit of ignoring water intake entirely until your body practically begs for it. For many seniors, especially those who grew up hearing, "Just have a drink if you're thirsty," it's deeply ingrained that thirst is the body's perfect alarm system. The reality is that as you age, that alarm might be on a significant delay. You could spend half the day dehydrated before you ever feel a hint of thirst. Consider how Elaine, 77, used to handle her hydration. She'd start her morning with toast and a cup of coffee, then rush through her chores. By noon, she was sometimes so busy, she'd forget to drink anything at all. Around 2 p.m., she'd notice a dry mouth, maybe a bit of a headache, and only then would she guzzle a glass of water. Often it was too little, too late. Elaine experienced frequent urinary tract infections, and her doctor explained that consistent, moderate hydration throughout the day was key to preventing them. Once Elaine set hourly reminders on her phone, an approach she thought was too high-tech at first, her UTIs decreased dramatically. The misconception is that water is only necessary in direct response to thirst. But the truth is, your body continually loses water through breathing, perspiration, and basic metabolic functions. Seniors also lose some of their ability to conserve water. Without regularly topping off your hydration tank, you risk slipping into a deficit that can leave you feeling tired, cranky, and more prone to health issues. Here's a memorable phrase: sip before you're parched. This is a game changer. Make it a routine to have small amounts of water at frequent intervals rather than large quantities only when you feel you're running dry. Get a small water bottle, 8 to 12 ounces, and keep it near you. Whether you're reading a book, watching television, or taking a short walk, take periodic sips. Visualize how much more comfortable your day could be if you rarely encountered that fuzzy, headachy feeling that comes from dehydration. Your skin might feel less dry, and you could even notice that your joints don't ache as much since hydration can play a role in joint lubrication. These might seem like minor improvements, but when you add them all up, they contribute to a more active, satisfying life. Ready to tackle the next issue? Good, because this one can be particularly sneaky. Let's keep moving forward. Mistake number 4, neglecting electrolyte balance. Some people think hydration is strictly about water, but electrolytes like sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium are equally important for maintaining fluid balance within the body. If you're missing the right electrolyte balance, drinking water alone can sometimes be insufficient, and in rare cases, it can even dilute your electrolyte levels too much. The common misconception is that electrolytes are only for athletes, or that you need fancy sports drinks to get them. But actually, electrolytes are essential for everyone, especially seniors who are more susceptible to sudden shifts in body chemistry. Without enough of them, you could experience muscle cramps, irregular heartbeat, or a general feeling of weakness and confusion. Case in point, Harold, 82, had recently started drinking more water after realizing he was dehydrated. Although he felt a bit better overall, he suddenly started having severe leg cramps at night. He mentioned it to his nurse practitioner, who pointed out that his electrolyte levels might be off balance. Harold was trying so hard to hydrate with pure water that he'd inadvertently lowered his sodium levels to the point where it was causing muscle spasms. By adding a small pinch of salt to his midday meal or sipping on an electrolyte drink with balanced minerals, he noticed the cramps subsided almost immediately. The surprising truth is that while most seniors do need more water, they also need a healthy dose of electrolytes to ensure their bodies can properly utilize the fluids they consume. However, don't rush to buy sugary sports drinks. Many of them are loaded with excessive sweeteners that you don't need. Instead, consider low-sugar electrolyte powders or tablets formulated for older adults. Even natural options like coconut water, in moderation, can be a good source of electrolytes without as much sugar as traditional sports beverages. A practical step is to incorporate foods rich in potassium and magnesium, like bananas, avocados, leafy greens, and nuts, into your meals. Lightly salting your food, assuming you don't have a condition that requires a low-sodium diet, can also help maintain the right sodium balance. It's about finding a healthy equilibrium, not going overboard in either direction. Imagine the peace of mind you'll feel knowing that not only are you drinking enough water, but you're also giving your body the minerals it needs to function optimally. Steadier energy, fewer muscle twitches and cramps, and potentially better sleep or weight when your electrolytes are balanced. It's like fine-tuning a car engine. You need the right mix of fuel and coolant to keep everything running smoothly. Before we move to mistake number 5, let's pause for a quick check-in. If you've made it this far, comment 4 down below to show you're still watching and engaging. And if you haven't already, take a moment to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss future videos that can help you maintain a vibrant, healthy lifestyle. Mistake number 5, drinking large amounts of water all at once. Maybe you've experienced this. You suddenly realize you haven't had a sip of water all morning, so you down a full bottle in one go. You might think you're making up for lost time, but drinking huge amounts of water at once can lead to discomfort, bloating, and even water intoxication in extreme cases, though that's rare. More commonly, chugging water all at once just makes your body rush to expel it, which defeats the purpose of trying to hydrate. The misconception is that you can catch up on hydration with one big gulp. The reality is that your body can only absorb so much water at a time, and the rest often ends up being flushed out. It's similar to the idea of overeating to make up for missed meals. Your body doesn't process that food optimally. It just gets overloaded. Consider Gladys, 76, who was notorious for ignoring water until late afternoon. Then once she felt parched, she'd guzzle 2 or 3 cups at once, often leading to a rapid trip to the bathroom. She'd also feel nauseous sometimes. When her granddaughter, a nursing student, explained that slow, steady intake is better for absorption, Gladys started sipping smaller amounts every 30 minutes or so. She noticed she felt less bloated, and she wasn't running to the restroom as frequently. The surprising truth here is that the body craves consistency. It's designed to maintain a stable internal environment. When you flood it with too much water, you can disrupt electrolyte balance, which we discussed in the previous mistake, and stress your kidneys because they have to work overtime to filter out the excess. A practical tip is to keep a smaller cup or bottle with you throughout the day. Instead of a 20-ounce chug, try a 4 or 6-ounce sip every hour. This approach prevents that overloaded feeling and can significantly reduce bathroom breaks at inconvenient times. It may also help you retain the fluid you're taking in more effectively. Picture yourself easing into your day, sipping water in a relaxed, controlled manner. You're not sloshing around with a belly full of liquid, and you're not feeling that desperate thirst. Instead, there's a steady, comfortable equilibrium. That can mean better digestion, clearer thinking, and fewer disruptions to your daily routine. We still have 2 more critical hydration mistakes to cover, including one that often goes under the radar. Let's push on to mistake number 6. But first, here's a quick engagement check-in. If you found at least one useful tip so far, please type 6 in the comments to let me know. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. This community thrives on sharing knowledge that keeps us all healthier, happier, and more active. Mistake number 6, replacing water with sugary drinks or soda. For some people, plain water feels boring. They crave flavor, turning to sodas, sweet iced teas, fruit juices, or other sugar-laden beverages. While a sweet drink can be refreshing, relying on them for hydration can lead to a whole host of problems. Weight gain, spikes in blood sugar, and even more thirst afterward because of the high sugar content. The misconception is, well, it's still liquid, so it's hydrating me. In truth, these drinks can cause more harm than good, especially if you're managing conditions like diabetes or high blood pressure. They might give a short-lived energy boost, but the crash afterward can be brutal. Plus, sugar tends to pull more water into your digestive system, which can ironically leave you feeling even thirstier. Look at James, 79, who used to drink multiple cans of soda a day. He rarely touched water because he thought soda was enough to quench his thirst, and he loved the taste. Over the years, he developed type 2 diabetes and found himself feeling constantly fatigued. His doctor urged him to cut back on sugary drinks and make water his go-to beverage. Switching gradually to flavored sparkling water with zero sugar helped James reduce his sugar intake significantly. His blood sugar levels stabilized, and he reported having more consistent energy throughout the day. The surprising reality is that sugar-laden drinks can mask dehydration. You may feel satisfied initially, but sugar can trigger fluctuations in your body that leave you less hydrated in the long run. It's like trying to fix a leaky roof with duct tape. It may work for a little while, but eventually the underlying problem comes right back, and often worse than before. What's the practical advice? If plain water doesn't excite you, infuse it with fruit slices or herbs like mint. Herbal teas can also be a delightful alternative. If you must have something sweet, opt for low sugar or naturally sweetened drinks. But do read the labels. Sometimes healthy beverages can still contain high amounts of sugar. For a treat, you might occasionally try a no-sugar sparkling water with a squeeze of citrus. Imagine no longer dealing with that frustrating sugar crash in the afternoon. Your energy could remain steady, and you might even notice improvements in your skin's elasticity or your digestion. Small changes like this can have a ripple effect, leaving you feeling more in control of your health and better able to enjoy daily activities. We have one final hydration mistake to discuss, and it's one that's easy to overlook. But before we get there, if you're finding these insights valuable, type 6 in the comments one more time, just to emphasize that you're committed to learning. And a reminder, subscribing ensures you'll be the first to know when we discuss other crucial health and lifestyle tips. Mistake number 7, underestimating dehydration in cooler weather. Most people think dehydration is a summer issue. They assume it happens only when it's hot out or you're sweating profusely. But seniors can become dehydrated in cold or mild weather just as easily, if not more so. In cooler weather, you might feel less inclined to drink water because you're not as warm or sweaty. That lack of thirst combined with dry indoor heating can quickly sap moisture from your body. The misconception is that dehydration is primarily a summer problem. The truth is that hydration needs don't drop just because the temperature does. In fact, during colder months, your body may lose water through breath and dryness in the air. Heaters, whether at home or in public buildings, can create a low humidity environment that effectively wicks moisture from your skin and respiratory tract. Consider Irene, 83, who thought she only needed to focus on drinking water during the summer months. During the winter, she noticed her skin became painfully dry, her lips were always chapped, and her energy seemed to plummet. She attributed this to winter blues, never realizing she was mildly dehydrated most of the season. A friend suggested she track her water intake for a week in January. Irene was shocked to find she drank barely half the recommended amount. Once she made a conscious effort to sip water throughout her chilly days, she found her skin felt better, and she had more energy for her knitting projects and weekly card games. The surprising insight? Dehydration is a year-round risk, and seniors might be at an even higher risk during colder months because the body's thirst signals are even less noticeable when the temperature is low. You might also be wearing layers of clothing, which can lead to mild perspiration that goes unnoticed. By the time you realize you're losing fluids, it may be too late to prevent fatigue or other symptoms. So here's the practical step. Maintain your hydration schedule regardless of the weather. If drinking cold water in winter isn't appealing, opt for warm water or herbal teas. Keep a humidifier running in your living area, if possible, to counteract the drying effects of your heating system. And don't forget, regularly check the color of your urine. If it's dark, that's a clear sign you need more fluids. Picture a winter day where you feel comfortable, your skin isn't flaking, and your joints move smoothly without stiffness. It's not just the lotion or the sweater that's helping, it's your internal hydration. By taking your water intake seriously all year, you give yourself a better chance of maintaining good balance, mental clarity, and overall well-being, whether it's snowing outside or blisteringly hot. Now that we've uncovered all 7 hydration mistakes, let's reflect on how these pieces fit together and what a difference they can make for your day-to-day life. When you pause for a moment and think about the journey we've taken together, it's clear how something as basic as water can have a profound impact on your health. These 7 hydration mistakes, ignoring thirst signals, relying on coffee or tea, waiting to feel parched, neglecting electrolytes, chugging water all at once, substituting sugary drinks, and underestimating hydration needs in cooler weather, can quietly rob you of vitality. But here's the encouraging part. Fixing these habits is often just a matter of awareness and small, consistent actions. Imagine the transformation that can happen when you schedule your water intake, keep a close eye on electrolytes, and choose beverages wisely. You might find you have more stable energy throughout the day, fewer nagging headaches, and less risk of sudden dizzy spells. You could be getting better sleep, experiencing less joint discomfort, and noticing improvements in digestion. Each of these benefits adding up to a life that feels more in your control. It's easy to think, I'll get to it when I have time. But the truth is that proper hydration can't wait. Each day you neglect it, you're increasing the odds of complications, from urinary tract infections to fainting spells. And for many seniors, a single fall caused by dizziness can lead to a long road of recovery, potentially eroding independence and confidence. Take a moment to visualize yourself sipping water throughout the day, savoring a warm herbal tea in the evening, and feeling that sense of relaxation wash over you because you're no longer worried about whether you're taking care of your body's most basic need. By taking action now, you're giving yourself the gift of prevention, steering clear of dehydration-related problems before they have a chance to develop. Which of the 7 points resonated with you the most? Perhaps you realize you've been overdoing the coffee or waiting until you're parched before taking a drink. Maybe it's the winter months that trip you up, or you've been so focused on water that you've overlooked your electrolytes. Whichever it is, challenge yourself to pick one tip and start implementing it tomorrow. Even a small shift, like placing a water bottle next to your recliner, can make a big difference. I'd love to hear about your experiences. Share in the comments one thing you learned today and how you plan to use it in your life. Your insights aren't just valuable to me, they can inspire others in our community who may be facing the same struggles. If you found this video informative or helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. When you subscribe and turn on notifications, you join a community of like-minded seniors and supporters who are all aiming to stay healthier and happier. And if you know someone who could benefit from these tips, don't hesitate to share this video. Together, we can spread knowledge that might save a friend or loved one from a preventable health crisis. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, every day is an opportunity to care for your body in a way that supports your independence and joy. Dehydration can be sneaky, but you now know how to spot and prevent it. Take this knowledge and run with it, because you have the power to change your habits and maintain a fulfilling life at any age. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Stay well, stay hydrated, and keep sharing your progress.